talking to you. We about to have a house party. Welcome to the Re-Emancipation of Social Dance podcast, a prelude to the world premiere of an immersive dance theater experience created by me, Raja Feather Kelly, with Philadelphia's finest, Yolanda Wisher. Listen in as 5 multifaceted dancers tell the evolving story of social dance and the impact that it's had on the people and cultures of Philadelphia. Come on in and let's move.
I danced at home. Yeah, we all danced at home because we even had the parties at our house. And the parties were like 15 cents to get in, or 25 cents to get in, 15 cents for the sodas, and 15 cents for the hot dogs, 10 cents for the sodas.
See, I forgot that.
And parents were there. Parents were there all the time.
Cleared out a bedroom, and that's where the dance.
Right, they cleared out a bedroom, and that's where the dance was.
Oh, really?
Yes, they took the furniture out of the bedroom, and that's where the dance was.
Episode 2, Emancipate Hearts, Lela Aisha Jones. Lela Aisha Jones is a movement performance artist, a community-based curator and organizer, inter-arts interdisciplinary collaborator, and embodied researcher. I first met with Lela and Yolanda at a fancy restaurant in Rittenhouse Square in March 2022. Sitting at a table across the aisle from us was the musician Jamaluddin Takuma. At brunch with his fly-ass friends, y'all, it was amazing. And so there, it had to be an alchemy of me, Lela, and Yolanda, and those fancy men sitting across from us who inspired us so deeply. We were all sort of acting as a mirror for each other, enjoying our elegant brunches. And across the table was Lela, who is a leader to the brothers leading at the left. And I'm like, okay, game meets game. We gonna live too. We gonna eat. So in this segment, Lela, who is now a full-fledged member of the Re-Emancipation of Social Dance ensemble, she talks about coming to Philly via New York to do Afro-Brazilian dance. She speaks of being a witness, the struggle to find freedom in academia, the embodied work of Yoruba and African spiritual practice, and dancing with a changing body. And she shares how she found the courage to eat, step into the center at a house party one night. Take a listen.
My name is Lela Aisha Jones, Okun Lola, Okiki Ola, Oshun Bumi. I am a movement performance artist. I'm a vocalist. I'm a community organizer and curator. I'm a teacher. I'm a mom. I'm an auntie. I'm a daughter. So on a daily basis, right now I'm kind of chilling and doing admin. I work at a college and I'm a professor And I'm dreaming a lot about my world of art making that was prior to this moment and the world that I'm about to continue to ensue along my life path right now. But I think I probably should talk about what I love doing. So I'm gonna do that. What I love doing is being in making and creative spaces. And I particularly love being with people when they are discovering their artistic practice. And I am discovering that as well. And I think my most profound moments in my life have been watching people transform into like really believing in their work, really believing in their bodies, believing in the gifts and talents they have to offer as embodied beings in the world. That's what I really love to do. I love to be a facilitator and moderator of that in myself and in creating artistic works. And I also really love helping to, facilitate with other folks. It's just as rewarding for me to facilitate that in other people's lives as it is to facilitate that in my life. I think I probably came to this place because I love the role of witness. I could probably sit all day and just watch people move, just like at a park or whatever. I'm so fascinated with the way that people, what people find in their bodies when they let themselves be free, which I think a dream world of mine is like people that nobody's talking. Like everybody's just talking with their bodies, like walking down the street talking. Somebody need to make a movie. I can't wait for that movie. So I think the witness part is probably a lot of what led, being in the Southern Baptist Church and having to witness other people in hard times at a very young age, willing to be vulnerable and talk about things that were difficult in front of an intergenerational community of people who felt like support. So that's probably where it all started for me. Anyway, so you asked me about Philly. Philly by way of New York. And the story is I got invited here to do a Brazilian performance. And I had studied samba and Afro-Brazilian dance with Yolanda and Angela Santos of Dance Brazil. And I called the brother up and I was like, I ain't no stripper. That's my first answer. I ain't no stripper. I don't know what y'all trying to do. I'm not a sambista. Like Afro-Brazilian. Like we wear skirts and and the brother gave me this whole thing about slavery and gave me the whole, and so that was my first sort of entry point. But then I was looking for a spot too. I was looking to move out of New York. I was in New York. And I had been working with Crystal Brown and Barack Ade Soleil. I think it's important to name these folks. Nia Love and the Urban Bushwoman family. Those were kind of the people that I was encircling with and that we were holding each other at the time as artists. And I looked at Cali and I was like, that's really far from my nieces and nephews, and my family. I looked at Chicago and I was like, yo, I'm from Florida, it's mad cold, I can't take it. And then I looked at Philly and I was like, Philly got a lot of grass and trees and seemed like they got a choreographic process going on, a lot of choreographers. It seems like it has some small town soft energy here and there. And I was like, okay, I think I can try Philly. But that was my attraction to Philly, really. It was like more nature. Seemed like the art scene, especially the dance and choreography scene, was moving along. And I really wanted to move into my choreographic making. A real deep way that I came in was through the West African dance community and Afro-Cuban dance community. I met Oyin Hardy, Mama or Iya Oyin Hardy, who was having Saturday classes, Orisha classes, Afro-Cuban classes in North Philly. Can't remember the exact recreation center. But yes, Mama Dorothy Wilkie, who is not the founder of Kulubele, Baba Crowder is, but she took over. And of course, there's a high association with Odunde. I would also say that another person that I was connected to was Cache Ivy had a running African dance class at the Community Education Center at the time when I first came. So I dropped into that as well as another space for me to come into the dance world. And I feel like that was those three folks, that was a really important part of my process. With Oyin Hardy, it was one of the first times that I got to try out some choreography, some Brazilian choreography that I did with her and her company. And then with Kulumele, Mama Dottie, really actually surprised me because a lot of the West African traditional dance community is not always open to free flow. They want the tradition to stay the same, and there's a lot of good reasons for that. I'm not critiquing or judging that, and I like to be clear about that because there's a lot of pain and hurt in the community about, things being taken or, people being utilized in ways around these cultures. And so I understand the fear, and I understand the people who stood there and kind of fought to hold on to something that felt like intangible to hold on to and not supported and not, cared for a certain way. So I want to be clear about that when I talk about this. But as new generations come through, tradition is always evolving, right? And it should evolve with the bodies, the beings and bodies in the space. And I didn't know that Mama Dottie was going to be such a welcoming person for that. And she surprised me, and she said, "Oh, you want to do some choreography?" I don't even know how she trusted me. Like, I was like not from here, and Philly do have a thing about not trusting people that's not from here. That's for real. See, so Philly people do be like, "How long you gonna stay here, man?" You know what I'm saying? Like, how long you gonna be here? So I feel that too. But I'm also from the South, and we hang. Like when we find people, I do feel like that's a quality, right? We find people and we like, oh yeah, these are some people. And they, we all can be together. So she trusted me to try some things. She noticed that I knew a lot of the traditional dances, and she noticed that I was trying to do some new things. And she also allowed me to work with the community. And that was a really big step because Mama Dottie keeps a strong Philly community of dancers that were born and raised here in that company. And I learned so much about Philly by working with them. And again, back to the witnessing. I feel like so much of the trust is about me witnessing, right? And I didn't know if they was gonna trust me.
Hey, you. It's me again. Yeah, I'm talking to you. We're having a house party and you're invited. Get your fit ready for the world premiere of the Re-Emancipation of Social Dance, Thursday through Saturday, June 20th through 22nd at 7 p.m. Christ Church Neighborhood House in Old City, Philadelphia.
I think that is my community. COVID is an interesting moment, but I think that those are the folks that I go to, rely on, see in the community. I mean, to be honest, starting the job at the college, I haven't had a lot of time to just be out in the way that I was before, but I also know any moment when I want to go back and be with those folks, I can. So I would consider that community. Even if I just want to drop by rehearsal or drop by class or, any of those things. So yeah, and I think it is more than just a dance community for me. I also think that the Yoruba community on multiple levels, the spiritual, cultural levels, because some people are involved culturally in Yoruba practice, but not necessarily spiritually per se. and some people are involved spiritually, and that, and culturally in some ways, or some people are more private or more public with it. So I think that community and the way that that community moves with one another and moves in space and ceremony is a part of my world and practice, who I rely on. I'm just trying to think about the people that I really go to and rely on, I think also my community was what I was building, which was Fly Ground at the time, which, had a series of dancers that were a part of it. That some that were, nobody from there I think was from Philly. Fly Ground was a creative home, really, to manifest work around subjects that felt important at the time of the company, which was, I don't know the years, I'm not gonna try to, but at least for about 8 to 10 years when I got here, maybe started like 2009, 2010. And the first work was around lynching, and really was my first try at seeing what it meant for me to try to facilitate not just me witnessing, but other people witnessing each other, and that becoming a creative practice, trying to welcome all of people's dance genres. Like I had folks who never dance modern dance, did not study modern dance, and I have an MFA, so I have that skill, but I wanted to know what do you really need to dance? And I think it was just there. It's a knowing of your body, a trusting of your body. And so, a couple of dancers that only had sort of West African became a part of it. And I think it also opened my world up about what is dance too, and who can do it, and what's the qualification of that. And mostly the qualification is trust and knowing your body from whatever perspective. So it started out with Native Portals Lynching in Love, which was basically an exploration of, could we love this country when there's a history of lynching, and when did we learn about it, know about it, and how did that impact our lives? And then I had 2 more Native Portal pieces, which were, one was a solo that was trying to process what it meant for me to be an artist activist, and yeah, I think in some ways it was trying to affirm that, but also trying to move more into experimental work and not think about, I never have been really linear, but not think about linearity so much. And then there was Native Portals Release Restoration, and it had another word to it. But that was supposed to be about healing, but I don't think we survived. I don't think we were successful at healing. I think we just got to the edge of the possibility of that, right? I think there's a grandeur, when we think, I'm gonna heal through this. And you might heal through a work, but what was going on at that time, Trayvon Martin, all those things that were unraveling right then. So we did Native Portals Lynching in Love, and my premise was that the history of lynching was invisible. Trayvon was murdered right before that piece was premiered. So it didn't even matter what I thought the work was about, because when we got in that room, we had red hoodies in the piece. We had black stuff in the piece. We had red hoodies in the piece. We had, all kinds of things hanging from the ceiling. We had nooses that we had worked with in all these different ways. So once that hit the stage, the premise of invisibility was done. So the piece was something else completely. And that was a pretty powerful moment for all of us. Everybody was hurting, and there was a lot of questions that we didn't think about because we didn't know that was coming. We knew people were being hurt just invisibly in a lot of ways for us in terms of lynching and in interactions with police and white authoritative figures, There's people around me that are like, you should do that again. Because now we have all this context and all this stuff, and then there's a part of me that's like, no, I think we're in another place. I think what's inspiring right now is some deep dives into the magnitude of blackness, the expansiveness of blackness. I think what's inspiring right now is also Olokun, which is an Orisha, an energy that is not well known. It's only venerated in Nigeria, but it is connected to Yemaya. It's the deep sea ocean entity, and I created this work that the question was about angels and ancestors, and I did it in a church through this project Grounds to Shout, and I wanted to kind of ask the question, what are angels and ancestors doing when they're not serving us? That was my big question. And my thing was, it ended up being play. I was going through the pews and restructuring the hymns and, dancing at the pulpit. Like that was, bringing the Baba Ed in there to play, not a banjo. I don't know exactly the name of the instrument, but something similar to that. Trying to, that those energies need to be at play too, and they probably are. We just call them and we think they just here for us. So that's one thing I'm interested in. But I realized that the entity that I created with the hat and the veil, because the hat had a horseshoe, which like my grandfather and ancestors, they always played horseshoes. The veil was always kind of, of course you can't go away from W.E.B. Du Bois without, thinking about the veil. But a literal veil where you kind of become sort of, nobody can see your eyes, you can't see their eyes, you become kind of creature-esque in the world. And I think also those two things, I recognize something called Eyo Olokun in Nigeria, which they dress like that. They wear hats and so that kind of came sort of circumstantial. I didn't even know that existed. And so I'm sort of interested in this energy of your deep soul desire and prosperity. Because I think for me as a Black woman growing up, I don't know if I would say I felt a deficit, because I had a very nourishing community and nurturing community. But I do think I had questions about desire. Like if desire, all these other things have to be in place for desire. And I think that influenced my dancing. It's like you gotta do all this hard work and you gotta do, and then when I went to the house clubs in Atlanta, because that's where I really got into house. It took me probably a year to like actually let myself be there fully. Like I was in the room and I was watching people talking about witnessing, watching people and all this stuff, and I would dance a little bit, but I knew I could dance, but there was something about the desire for it that scared me. Like the wanting to be out there dancing and the wanting to be in the center, or that made me nervous. I guess the person that comes to mind is Resma Menachem in My Grandmother's Hands. I think I bring him up because he talks a lot about hard work and how we think we don't deserve rest unless we work hard, right? And I feel like there's something there with what I was taught about desire. Like, girl, get your shit together. Like, get all your shit together, and then you can have what you desire, right? And that is I do think that is a cultural practice. Right, I'm not the only Black woman that's been taught that, and I think it even goes beyond us. Like it's a capitalistic structure, like desire, just like actually, and I think maybe the transference is like fulfillment. Like I would be fulfilled if I went out and got in the middle of that house club and just went for it, right? And it's the most liberated I felt as a dancer. I'm gonna be honest, unless I'm seeing a work being realized, yes. But I think even if we talk about the West African dance community and like bantabans and all that, the most fulfilled I have felt, I would say, is when I'm just freestyling. Yeah. I remember a specific day, a specific night, and I used to go with my girl Melinda. She loved to dance. But she wasn't a dancer. She would say, I'm not a dancer. And I'd be like, girl. But anyway, so we would go, and the space was dark, of course. Always seemed a little misty. I think the spot was called the Underground. It's not open anymore. It was misty. I don't know if that was sweat or they were misting the place or what. There was levels. So there would be like the deep floor, and there would be like different sort of levels of floor. And you would see people dancing on all kinds of floor. And I remember that night particularly noticing all the different styles of dance that were in the room. And how people fluidly move through, something that might look like a ballet body to like a house body to like an Afro body to like, I remember noticing that. And I just remember having courage that day to like move past whatever it was. And I just went in the center and I just went for it. And I don't remember much like about it, because how can you remember that? But I do remember being surrounded and supported. And when I say that to you, Raja, I go back to the Southern Baptist Black Church.
But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. But you got a light bill too.
Because of shout. I mean, what more freedom is that as a young child to move? It takes you to the barbecues too, and like my family used to dance and do that too, but I'll go to the church, which, when that permission was given to shout, that permission was for everybody. It didn't matter what age you were, and people believed you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if anybody was in there faking the Holy Spirit. You know what I'm saying? Some people might have been faking the Holy Spirit, but if they were, they needed it to. They needed that, They needed to feel loved and held and whatever. But, some of the things that I saw coming down the aisles and some of the things, it's so open, the way that you can move. And maybe I never thought about it that way, but now that I'm thinking about it in connection to house, I feel like the same kind of freedom to move was there, right? Nobody told you couldn't flip. Nobody told you your back had to be straight. Nobody, you were just floating, right? On whatever spirit was there to ride or to come with you. And I think the same thing and the other comfortable space in my rearing was with my family. There was a lot of dancing with my family, inside and outside of the house, family reunions. Like, we had a dancing family. I had that dancing on your uncle's toes thing. Like, I had that.
But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. But you got a light bill too. You gotta get it too. You gotta get it too.
COVID was a shift too. But I don't know. I think when Fly Ground stopped, something also stopped with me. When I stopped having that creative home, which I think I did need a rest, because it was like getting to that point where it's, you know, you're climbing the you're climbing the ladder and you're like getting tired, you know, you're getting burnt out a little bit. And but I do think that was a stopping point for me. Well, I want to also say that I think the relationship with my body is changing, like my being in the world is changing, and I think some of the solace that I used to get from that, I also get from just being in nature, like just walking, you know, and laying in the grass and, you know, just being in natural spaces. I find myself witnessing that more than people these days and witnessing how that reflects on who I am. So I think there also might be, you know, but I do think when I am back in my creative practice, like, I know I'll just fall right back into it, but I've been sort of out of it. I need more intimacy for my liberation and less extroverting, you know, for that, like less outward energy for that, and less affirmation from other people too, I think, a little bit. You know, like I probably could be in my closet and get really fulfilled, so I'm gonna do that this weekend. I'm gonna dance in my closet. For me, this project, the invitation after our conversation, which was really beautiful, was a return to some of these notions I have about how much embodied practice and cultural practice actually lives inside of these bones and cells and histories and how that is social dance. Because we know there's such a separation between this is social dance, this is traditional dance, this is concert dance. You know, there are lines that get drawn, right? And so, but I think that the fluidity of witnessing all of it in yourself, and then that being what comes out into the world, is a re-emancipation. Because I feel like we gotta build the glory in all of us. Like we have to build that in order to build collective, right? We have to build an intimacy with ourselves. And it's funny because I spend so much time, you know, doing this work around mining, witnessing, and archiving, which is really about people finding the glory in them through interactions with other people, witnessing them, and then witnessing other people. But it feels like a time for me to like now bring that practice back to my own life. And I also was attracted to it because I felt like you all as leaders felt trustworthy from what I know you. Like I don't know Yolanda deep, and I don't know you deep, but I know when you sit down with a group of people and they're talking about a vision, and you say you feel inside yourself, these are people that I can let lead, right? Especially when you lead a lot. And I think that's another thing I wanted to like. I was like, I need a moment not leading. And I'm very selective about who I dance with, like over my career. You can see the 4 people that I named. I mean, literally, it might be them 4 people. My whole career that I've danced with, you know, are committed to a project with. Because I felt like there was something inside. The title of the project, everything, sound like the re-emancipation of people, not just the re-emancipation of social dance. And the way that y'all were discussing it and describing it felt like that, and I'm about that. I'm very clear that I need to be dancing in a lot of places a lot. Like, and I don't mean one particular environment. Like, I want to go out to Valley Forge and dance. I want to get in the studio and dance. I want to dance in my house. Like, I just really need to pull that practice back together. And I don't even know if it was ever together. There was so much studio dancing, you know. Once I got behind my rearing years, you know, and I really got into the professional scape of dance, there was so much of that. And then, you know, I was in Atlanta for a moment where I was kind of like not fully committed to dancing, and then I was in the social scape more per se. So I want to return to some of that, I want to return to my body. And I also want to bring like full circle back Olokun, because I think, again, your deepest soul desires connected with prosperity. I think what it's talking about is fulfillment. So even if I have a 5-minute session with myself, I want to be practicing fulfillment. Like what does it feel to get to fulfillment in my body right now? At this age, now I'm a mother, now, you know what I mean? Just all the things. Now I'm 45, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole nother world, right? Like that I just stepped into. And I'm really trying to live that world. And I'm trying to share it. And I'm trying to see other people be up in that. And I'm trying to see what happens when that's with a lot of other people. And I really like that. I like when we walk in a room and it feels like somebody's about to bring an experience and we don't really know what it's gonna be. Emancipate hearts.
And now we've come to the end of the party. Thanks for dancing with us. The Re-Emancipation of Social Dance podcast is produced by Dr. Bruce Campbell Jr. with Nia Benjamin and Yolanda Wisher for Intercultural Journeys. For more information about the podcast and project, visit reemancipatedance.org. Special thanks to Odunde Inc. and Philadelphia Folklore Project for their permission to use archival audio from the Hucklebuck to Hip Hop African American Social Dance Project. The Re-Emancipation of Social Dance has been supported by the Pew Center for Arts and Heritage. The views expressed are those of the artists and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Pew Center for Arts and Heritage or the Pew Charitable Trusts. Now, you don't have to go home, but you got to get the heck up out of here. Peace.